what?
I'm an albino, so I look like a bad guy.
No, that's not what we were.
The heat.
Put her there.
You just make it odd.
We are.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. No intro this week because we only got 2 movies here. We're wrapping up June 2013 on June 28th with 2 not-so-spectacular movies, but I know what you're thinking. The Heat was a critically acclaimed comedy when it came out. It was a movie that was actually one of the biggest hits of the summer. How could someone like me not like it? I'm about to tell you. Sarah Ashburn, played by Sandra Bullock, is an FBI agent who's extremely ambitious and has her eye on a promotion, but she doesn't get along with her co-workers. She's sent to Boston to uncover the identity of an elusive drug lord named Mr. Lawson by tracking down his proxy, Rosas, and is told that she has a good shot at the promotion if she finds Lawson. When she arrives in Boston, she learns that Lawson has been eliminating his competition and taking over their operations. She learns that Rojas is in Boston PD custody, and goes to see him to ask him what he knows about Lawson, but is warned that the cop who arrested Rojas, Sandra Mullins, played by Melissa McCarthy, is very territorial, and she's not exactly sociable. When the two meet, they don't get along. When Mullins learns why Ashburn is in Boston, she decides to find Lawson herself. Ashburn is told by her boss to work with Mullins, but it won't be easy because Ashburn does things by the book, while Mullins does things her own way. Gee, haven't heard that done before, but this time we got two women doing it, because that's never happened before in a movie, ignoring that 1980s movie Feds with Ellen Barkin and Mary Gross. Yeah, that was a movie that happened that nobody saw, but yeah, this is supposed to be the first time this whole groundbreaking thing has ever happened, and yeah, let me just tell you right now, this is not a good movie. This is a really lazy film. But of the 3 Melissa McCarthy movies that I saw that year, Identity Thief, Hangover Part 3, this was the best one. But then again, that's not really saying a whole lot. I mean, seriously, the only memorable thing about the movie that I'll give it credit for is Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy do work off each other very well. And it is fun to watch Sandra Bullock getting smacked around a little bit here, mostly because of how much torture most of her films are to watch. You watch stuff like All About Steve or 2 Weeks Notice, and try to tell me that that's a woman I want to be around. But like I said, I don't hate Sandra Bullock overall. She's made some good movies: the Speed films, Crash, The Blind Side, The Proposal, Miss Congeniality. But most of her films in general have been kind of bland overall. But other than that, though, there's only one thing that made me laugh about it. That was the fact that Melissa McCarthy's fridge is literally filled with weapons and guns. When I saw that for the first time, I actually laughed out loud pretty hard at that. I mean, that was actually really, really funny. A really funny, clever gag that they did with that. But other than that, though, there's nothing about this movie that's that clever or funny. We've seen this stuff before done so many times in the past already in other buddy cop movies. In fact, and like I said, the whole idea of 2 female cops working together is not a new thing, because that happened, would have been 15 years ago, I think? 25 years ago, because 88, 2013, I think, because Feds came out in 88, if I remember correctly, but yeah. This is a movie this is a tired formula that's been done before. There really isn't anything new about it that makes it anything unique or stand out in a way, shape, or form. But to its credit, I guess it's finally good to see Melissa McCarthy starring in a movie that doesn't consistently make her being obese the joke of the entire movie. I mean, Identity Thief and Hangover Part 3 were terrible at that. But at least with this one, there was at least I'll give it this. There was at least a conceited effort to try. I just don't think it really worked out in the end. I thought the comedy overall wasn't that great. The villain isn't seen until the very end of the movie. The motivations for his plans make no sense whatsoever. The characters are bland and forgettable. And it wastes a really good cast they have in here. You see Marlon Wayans in there. Michael Rappaport is in there. Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is in here. There's a whole running gag in general here where the idea of it is very funny, having McCarthy's family literally hate her because she arrested her brother, and it's just like they hate the fact that she's a cop and all that. But I'll explain why that's not a good thing either. The biggest problems with the movie I had is that it's one of those movies that's trying way too hard to be raunchy for the sake of being raunchy by throwing in way too many F-bombs, and Sandra Bullock finally snapping, and the way she just uses the F word in this is just so terrible. To say the words fuck and shit really are not that hard to do, but Sandra Bullock literally makes it seem like it's the most it's never even been once heard out of her mouth before this point. It's just kind of like, the way she said it is so cringeworthy. It's just like, just say it! It's not that hard to say. Fuck, shit, there, I made your job easier. Now let's tackle something every year like world hunger. But I digress. Let's go back to what I said before about McCarthy's family being like she doesn't like her family doesn't like her because she arrested her brother and because she's a cop and all that. Now that could be funny, but they take it way too mean-spiritedly for no reason whatsoever. I mean, the family is so harsh on her because she arrested her brother. And yeah, I get it. I get it. You don't want to do that because that's your family. You don't want to arrest somebody like that. But you know what? The law is the law, and you have to do that. Like, I know the family's being portrayed as not being too bright, but they have no excuse to be that pissed off at her because she was doing her job. It's called being honest to your job. And you know what? In a world where we have so many crooked cops taking over, yeah, the fact that she did that, I give her a lot of credit for that. Like, that's a really hard thing to do. And yeah, there's a good like I said, a good cast involved in here. I didn't even mention Demian Bichir. I didn't mention Michael McDonald, Jane Curtin, Tom Wilson. I mean, they're good people, but they're just given stereotype roles to work with here. And like I said, the villain's big reveal is so fucking stupid. It's extremely predictable and stupid at the same time. Predictable because you can easily tell who the real bad guy is because they make it seem like oh, we're being smart by making it seem like it's this guy when we know it's this other guy here. You're not being smart about this. And incredibly stupid because his revenge on the heroes is so ridiculous, and I hate this, and I'm sorry to say this for you people out there who hate this word, but it's fucking retarded. Especially when you see how easy it was to defeat him. Like, this movie tried to be something completely different and new, but it just ends up pulling the same crap we've seen done before, except with Bullock and McCarthy in it. And like I said, they're the two strongest parts of the movie, but other than that, though, I really don't get why people like this movie at all. This is a terrible film. It's forgettable. It's boring. I've never had the urge to watch it again. And quite frankly, I don't want to watch it again because I just don't think it'll be as funny as people make it out to be. Plus, I know Paul Feig's done a lot of other better movies. Some that actually people hate. But, yeah, I'm sorry. Ghostbusters 2016 was not terrible. Sorry. And I just lost a bunch of my audience on that one. So, sorry. Like I said, okay. I've kind of lost how I wanted to end this, so bottom line, The Heat, I didn't like it. Everybody else did, not me, so. But at least we can all agree that this last movie here is absolutely terrible. Roland Emmerich is back once again for the second Die Hard in the White House movie of 2013, White House Down.
White House Down, rated PG-13.
Seriously, Roland Emmerich, what the hell happened in your childhood that you want to keep blowing up the White House and all these Washington landmarks? I mean, did somebody sexually molest you when you were on a field trip back in the day? Like, were you raped somewhere or something like that? Did you do something that was illegal and is illegal in every state? I mean, what did you do in Washington D.C. that you get a boner every time you want to blow something up there? Because my God, this is like the third or fourth movie where he's done this, but. In this movie, you have a divorced U.S. Capitol police officer, played by Channing Tatum, who attempts to rescue both his daughter, played by Joey King, and the President of the United States, played by Jamie Foxx, when a destructive terrorist assault occurs in the White House. Now, you would think, with a major studio behind this one, a director who, as bad as his movies can be, he's a known, relative, reliable name, written by James Vanderbilt, who has written a ton of movies before, Spider-Man 2, for an example. But he also has a cast that includes Channing Tatum, Jamie Foxx, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Jason Clarke, James Woods, Richard Jenkins. Like, you would think that movie would be a far superior movie than the other movie that came out earlier in the year, Olympus Has Fallen. And yet, somehow, Olympus Has Fallen was the much better movie because they took more creative chances with it, and they made a much more fun movie that didn't rely on blowing everything up for just for the sake of blowing it up. Olympus Has Fallen had a much smaller budget than this does. This has a $150 million budget. You know what Olympus Has Fallen's budget was? Half that, $70 million. And, okay, there's more recognizable names in here, too. Gerard Butler, Aaron Eckhart, Morgan Freeman, Angela Bassett in that movie. But that one worked because the people who made that movie clearly had a fun idea to work with here, and they were able to do everything that White House Down couldn't do with a much smaller budget. This is just a movie that's trying to cover itself up as this big, heavy, intense action movie when it's a cheap, lazy comedy when you really look at it. And look, Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx seem like the perfect pair for a buddy movie like this in general, but it just doesn't work, man. This is a lousy movie that just fails on so many levels because the story is all over the place. The villain is pretty lazy overall, and there's nothing about this movie that just makes it work whatsoever. And like I said, the better Die Hard of the White House movie was Olympus Has Fallen. That was the much better film, but this one gets too ridiculous for its own good. Even people who love Roland Emmerich and went to this movie felt like they were underwhelmed by what they saw here. Yeah, this thing is fucking terrible, and just proof that Roland Emmerich clearly has lost his way at this point. Because, it's weird because he makes a movie that's much smaller and anonymous that you think, okay, he's going back to his roots here. He's going back to making smaller films to get people to realize that, hey, I can do anything but these big projects here, and yet nobody goes to see that movie, and then they make this film, and yeah, it's just a terrible, terrible movie, man. This is a horrible film. A lackluster script, wasting a really good cast. And yeah, if you want to watch the better Die Hard in the White House movie, go back and watch Olympus Has Fallen. That's the better movie. This is just pure garbage, and proof that Roland Emmerich clearly has lost his way and is never coming back, because the movies he's made after this are some of the worst things he's ever made. So yeah, that's my thoughts on White House Down. Not a very good film. Just watch Olympus Has Fallen. It's much better. My voice went low there for a second. With all that said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Time About the Movies. But next time around, we look at 4th of July weekend. We've got the return of the Minions in the sequel to the breakout hit of 3 years ago, Despicable Me 2. Another big animated sequel, Illumination's first big sequel overall. We also have a movie I'm kind of curious to rewatch again. Johnny Depp and Gore Verbinski, and in Gore Verbinski's The Lone Ranger, which stars Armie Hammer in the title role. But I said Johnny Depp's name first because that's how they marketed the movie overall. They put Johnny Depp ahead of Armie Hammer, even though Johnny Depp is playing Tonto in this. Back then, the movie didn't get a lot of good reviews or word of mouth, but I've actually heard from people saying nowadays it's not that bad, so I'll give it another shot here, see if it works out, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it tomorrow. We also have the latest Kevin Hart stand-up film, Let Me Explain, and a film written and directed by the guys who wrote The Descendants, Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, the way back. So we'll take a look at those 4 movies. We'll kick off a new month of films next time around, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.